Hi guys, it is Quiver, and I decided to ask around some of my friends for questions about Norman and Veronica. So here is a pre-pricked Q&A, and stay tuned for the end because I have some fan art shoutouts as well as just general announcement stuff for the future. Anyways, let's get right into it. Question number 1: who named their children? So really, Atlas and Dree, Veronica and Norman's kids. Atlas is the oldest, and Dree is the youngest. They're 4 years apart. So basically what happened at Atlas's birth is that he was handed to Veronica after being expelled from the room. And she just stared at him and was like, Norman, this is your son, and we're naming him Atlas Eric Vance. So that's basically how that happened. To sum it up, but then when Norman found out he was having a daughter, Dree, he was like, Dree Marie Vance, that's what we're naming her. So that's basically how they came up with their children's names. Question 2, has Norman always been obsessed with AC/DC? If not, when did he become obsessed with rock? That kind of stuff. So yes, he's always been obsessed with AC/DC. He learned to play guitar when he was 7, just so that he could shred those epic solos. So I'd say, if I had to give a specific age, and I'm coming up with this on the spot, I guess. If I had to give a specific age that Norman became obsessed with AC/DC or heavy metal in general, I'd say about 4 or 5. But originally, before then, it'd be like Italian carols or whatever, because his ethnicity and stuff with his mom's side being Italian. So yeah. Do Atlas and Dree have and or see their grandparents? Great question. Yes, they do. So this is a great time to talk about Veronica's parents. I don't really have much planned for Norman's yet, but Veronica's parents, Charlie and Isul. So Isul is from South Korea, and she had to move to the U.S., where she met Charlie, her future husband. Now, here's the thing. You'd think that a woman like Isul would be, strict for herself, disciplined. Well, they eloped. No one knew. They eloped. They eloped to South Korea, and then Seoul, and then they had Vincent, Rhiannon, and Veronica. So, Isul is a lawyer or retired lawyer. Sorry, I watched too much Matt Rose. Lawyer, and Charlie is a therapist. So basically, when Norman was meeting Veronica's parents, it was like, oh, so I should be scared of your dad or your mom? My mama. So, yeah. But they do see Veronica's parents occasionally. And then they live down in Miami, and, what are their names? Norman's parents, Pamela and Dante, they still live up in South Carolina. So it do be every once in a while, but for Christmas and holidays and stuff. So yeah, they see all of their grandparents, because they're all still alive and well, because they're all very healthy. This is a question for my sister. Question 4. If they owned a dog, what breed would it be? Now, there was some dispute. Neither of them really like dogs. Norman's more of a cat person. Veronica, while she'd never tell Norman, is more into arachnids and snakes. For those who don't know, Norman has ophidiophobia, and is actually very ironic for him. Big, muscled up Italian man jumps on the, and as soon as he sees a snake, he's like, I'm referencing a story here. He jumps on a chair at the sight of a mouse. That kind of thing. It's very ironic for him. So that's why Veronica never says anything about it. So if they owned a dog, what breed would it be? Now, that's kind of a confusing question. I think Veronica would want a husky. It seems fitting for her. And then Norman, he'd want a golden retriever. He'd want a loyal dog because he's a loyal person in general. So that answers that. Their favorite moment since they met. Question number 5. So they both have their different moments. Veronica's favorite moment is when Norman took Veronica back home to Seoul for her first time in 8 years, because she moved to the U.S. when she was 12 after the house fire. So that's her favorite moment. That's what made her forever fall in love with Norman. Now, Norman's favorite moment since they met. He's the kind of guy that says every moment is my favorite, because he's very head over heels for this woman. So, yeah. Their favorite childhood memory. Question number 6. Favorite childhood memory. So, that's a bit of a toughie. I haven't really planned out their childhood much. I guess Norman's favorite childhood moment is when his eldest sibling, his sister Astrid, joined the USMC, United States Marine Corps. So that's his favorite moment from his childhood, because he's like, oh yay, my sister's a badass. Then Veronica's favorite moment of her childhood, I don't really know. I guess meeting her best friend, Sue Min. I have a friend that watches all my videos and insists that it is semen. It is not. It is Sue Min. Min. Soomin. Sue Min. Okay, I had to clarify. Probably meeting her bestie, Sue Min. From my cousin, question 7. Who's the better cook? I love that he asked this question. So, Norman's Italian. It's kind of like how French people love their baking and stuff. He cooks a lot of Italian stuff. Tiramisu, anything with carbs like or pasta. It's basically a battle for the kitchen here. So I'd say Norman is the better cook. But Veronica, whenever she gets the chance, will make some good tteokbokki, however you pronounce it. I'm not Korean, but she is, so she would know if she were real. So Norman is the better cook, but Veronica is exceptional when she does cook. Question 8, what was it like for them growing up? Well, of course, once Veronica turned 12 and everything after that, basically not that good. If you've seen the lore video or the backstory video, I'll put a link in the description if I figure out how. I'm still new to this whole stuff, all this stuff. But for Norman growing up, it's just very fun. He loved to be out in the woods. He loved to play guitar. There's more, again, link in the description. Backstory video. They both had good childhood up until the teen years. Norman had some stuff going on in middle and high school. Veronica is just, yeah. But they had a good childhood for the most part. What is it like for their kids growing up? So Atlas and Dree. So very good childhood. They have almost like literally no traumatic moments. I might have to make some stuff for that. I don't know. I don't have their entire, like, all their stuff set in stone. But what I do want to add to Atlas's childhood backstory stuff, that Veronica, his mom, almost choked on a chip. And Norman had to pull the Heimlich on her. And Atlas was, like, traumatized because he was, like, 3 years old. So I'm thinking about adding that to the lore of the story. So, yeah, Atlas and Dree had a very fun childhood. They are very eccentric people, especially Dree. Like, if you knew the attitude that I have for her, it's like, she's quite the young lady. So, yeah, their kids growing up, Atlas and Dree, very good childhood. Question 10, what do they like about living in Florida? So, Veronica likes living in Florida because she previously lived in Duluth, Minnesota. I live like 2 hours away from there, and let me tell you, it is cold in the winter, so she's just glad for somewhere warm for once in her life, because I'm pretty sure it's cold in Seoul too. I wouldn't know because I've never been there, at least in the colder months in the northern hemisphere. They like living in Florida because there's a lot of eccentric people there, but they have some good friends. Norman likes living in Florida because he's used to the heat, so why not live in the heat some more? His body is really not made for the cold. Like, I swear, drop him in, like, I don't know, Iowa in January, I guess, and he's like, nope, I'm out of here. So they like living in Florida because they like the heat and humidity. Humidity is another thing. They like going to the beach together. They like doing stuff together. It's just their perfect go-to life. And also, Veronica likes living in Florida because of work. She's a barista, right? So it gets busy during tourist season. So she gets all these extra tips and stuff. So there's a lot of different reasons, but mainly it's because of heat, work, and spending valuable time together. I love this question so much. You wouldn't even know. If they drew themselves, what expression and or pose? So this is very good because I'm gonna drop this now. Norman is really good at drawing. Their first Christmas together, Veronica got Norman an iPad after she secretly went through his sketchbook, and it's actually really good drawings. If they drew themselves, if Norman drew himself, it'd probably be with, like, a very cocky, arrogant pose with, like, a smug expression. Like, kind of how you typically picture him, just in, like, cartoon, sketchy form. If Veronica drew herself, it'd be this, I gotta think. It'd just be her flipping the bird. I'm sorry, it makes sense. But what if they drew each other? So if Veronica drew Norman and Norman drew Veronica. If Norman drew Veronica, it'd be like, I don't even know how I want to put it in words. It's just beautiful. I'm going to say that. Beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. Long, luscious, flowing locks. All the perfect body shape. Like, just like how he genuinely pictures Veronica in his mind. And then for Veronica, it's just a cocky little gremlin. He drew him as a cocky little gremlin. Yeah. Question 12, how old are they? This isn't really set in stone, so what I'm just going to say is they are a year and a half apart, almost exactly a year and a half apart. Norman is obviously older, so his birthday is October 31st, Scorpio, right? Yeah, Scorpio. Halloween baby. So, and then Veronica's birthday is April 23rd, Taurus. So they're almost exactly a year and a half apart. So take Norman's birth, skip ahead a year, then another 6 months, and then there's Veronica's birthday. So depending on what time of the year it is, they're going to be the same. It's either going to be Norman's, like, for example, 23 and Veronica's 22, or Norman will be 23 and Veronica's 21. There's no middle ground where they're the same age. So basically, it's just picture any age for either of them and pick a month out of the year. So anytime in, like, May or before Halloween, their ages are one number apart. But anywhere other than that, Norman's ahead by 2 years. So just imagine that in your mind. Question 13, how long have they been together? Also not set in stone, but I will give you a timeline. So they met when Veronica was 20 and Norman was 21. Okay, they got married when Veronica was 24 and Norman was 25. They had their first kid a year later, because of course they wanted to wait, even though Norman was reluctant to wait. And then skip ahead, so that would mean Veronica's 25, Norman's 26, or however you want to put into perspective their age gap. Right, because how I just discussed that. And so 4 years later, when Atlas was 4, they had their daughter Dree, so that would make Veronica 29 and Norman 30. And then it just goes from there. It goes from there. They don't get divorced ever, because they're just that whipped for each other. They're just that big of simps for each other. So they'll be together. They're together for the rest of their days, having and they dated for 4 years, and it was actually a really good connection, and like you'd think that they've been together for longer. And then I have a bunch of timelines. I will go over the high school timeline right now. So imagine Veronica moved to South Carolina instead of Minnesota after the house fire. They would have met in high school, because after all the stuff Veronica went through, she'd go through homeschool first, and then in her freshman year, because remember, she graduated when she was 16, so you got to put this into perspective as well as I can. So in her freshman year, when she was 15, she started going to actual high school, and then she met Norman, casual jock guy, and then it goes from there in that specific timeline. And then la-di-da, graduation, med degrees, they moved to Miami, and that entire stuff. That's just the high school timeline where they would have met in high school. So, yeah, that basically sums up that. How long have they been together? Depending on which timeline you look at it, whether it's the original or the high school timeline, it's either going to be, you know what I'm talking about. Question 14, how did they react to Atlas coming out? I love this. I love this so much. So I'm going to kind of, for Veronica's side of knowing, I'm going to kind of put it into how Schmucky B, one of my favorite YouTubers, came out. So it's kind of like the same story. Atlas had to pick up his mom after a long day of work. Not food poisoning, a long day of work. And so they were driving home. And so Atlas is like, Mom, I guess I'm gay. And then, of course, Smokey's mom reaction, insert. I knew that! I mean, thanks for telling me, my child. So that's how he came out to Veronica. When he came out to Norman, that's a completely different story. So just... They come home from one of Atlas's football games, because he's like 16 at the time, 16 or 15 when he comes out, whatever. 16 if he had to pick up his mom. So after one of his football games, because he's in high school football, MVP QB, and he goes, "Hey, Dad, guess what? I'm gay." And so Norman is like, and then insert a week later, they're at a Dolphins game. Just that's how Norman reacts. He's taking his son to a football game because he came out of the closet. That's how he's such a good father. You can tell that he's a really good father like that. And that's why he was so acceptant when taking Marcus in, which is a story for another video. But yeah. Question 15. What's the first thing they'd say when describing each other? Let me give you a little scenario, why don't I? An arrogant and cocky bastard who has an ego taller than the Burj Khalifa. Mine! Question 16, kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 questions in one. Their favorite food, hobbies, music genre, and book genres. I have this written down in my notebook somewhere. Let me find it. That's backstory. Apartment layout. Yes, I have their apartment layout. Favorite things. Okay. Veronica's favorite food, tteokbokki, chicken parm, Norman's chicken parm, and hotteok. Her favorite book genres are nonfiction and history. Her favorite music genres are K-pop and country. And her favorite hobbies are aerial silks, anything cardio related, and reading. Norman's favorite food, garlic bread, pasta, and Veronica's bulgogi. He doesn't read. His favorite music genre, heavy metal, anything AC/DC, that kind of stuff. His favorite hobbies are just work in general. He loves his job. He loves going to the gym. He loves doing all of Veronica's chores for her. He's that big of a simp, guys. He's a simp. And of course, cuddling. Those are his hobbies, if you can even consider all of those hobbies. What do they like to do in their free time? I made a promise to myself when my friend asked me this question, and I'm gonna change my answer for it because reasons. They like, in their free time, they like to just hang out in general. There was a bird outside. There was a bird! In their free time, they like to hang out. They like to go do stuff they like to go shopping or eating out, stuff like that, going to the beach, because they live, like, their apartment complex is almost right next to the beach. And stuff like that. If it, or swoon over each other, hang out with friends, workout dates, where Norman takes Veronica to the gym with him. She'll mostly do treadmill stuff, but occasionally she will do some lifting with him. That's really what they like to do in their free time. Otherwise, read. Veronica likes to clicky-clacky on her laptop, make little short stories and stuff like that. And Norman likes to draw. Now, that's all of the questions that I was given, that I was asked. Now, I have some that I'm going to add on my own. So, what are their original backstories and lore? So, I really wanted to bring this up for a good reason. Because whatever I said in the video post linked in the description is completely different from what I had planned. Veronica's isn't really that much different, just some minor stuff. Norman's, though. So, Veronica, originally Vincent, her eldest brother, was just an absolute dick to her. This played in to when I had it canon that she used to have PTSD, but no, she doesn't have PTSD. Sure, she gets night terrors every now and then, but she doesn't have, like, actual PTSD, stuff like that. So the original backstory plan is that Veronica did have PTSD from all the stuff that she went through, but now she doesn't, and Vincent actually played a role in that, because he was just so neglecting. He'd, like, beat her up over every little small thing, and she'd have, like, panic attacks, almost, like, all the time when she was younger, because of Vincent. And then they had a really rough relationship, and Brandon was in the middle ground, kind of like Ponyboy, Soda Pop, and Daryl Curtis, kind of how it's played in that kind of stuff. And then Norman had planned, I'm glad I can bring this up. Finally, I can bring this up. So, Norman originally had entirely different family. So, his original parents' names were Lucy and William. This was before I made a canon that he's Italian. So his original parents' names were Lucy and William. He had two brothers, and he was the middle child instead of having one older sister and three older brothers, and him being the youngest. The one name that I actually kept and put into his actual siblings as of right now is Luca, which was his younger sibling, which used to be his younger sibling. And then his older sibling was Liam, and he was gay. And that kind of played into Astrid, because she is also a lesbian. So what happened is, like, Liam and Luca absolutely hated Norman. And they would, like, terrorize him and beat him up over every little thing. And his dad, William, at the time, when I had this canon, like, his mother walked out on the entire family, and then this kind of plays into generational trauma, where William was just an ass to Norman. I haven't even changed this information in their gotcha, in their gotcha club stuff, their bio. I haven't changed any of this, and I actually really need to, but then I'd have to do it for like 50 million versions of them. So just that's their original backstories and lore. I'm so glad that I changed it. Val Vincent is like kind of like, you touch my sister and I will kill you. That's basically I don't know, I'm not gonna say this because then my video might get taken down. But now Norman has a way better family, a really supportive family, because fun fact, Norman's bi. They didn't care at all because Astrid is lesbian, so it's like, we'll deal with it. Congratulations, though. Like whoever you like. And I don't think... Oh, another thing I need to add to Norman's backstory. He went through a tsunami. And it was so bad. So, that was his original backstory. Just shitty family. Excuse my profanity. It's just a shitty family. And, a lot of different events. But then eventually came, like, I got rid of the entire tsunami concept, and I gave him, trauma-induced ophidiophobia. He got bit by a water moccasin when he was, like, 14. And then his ex, who manipulated him with weed. Now, this is one thing I am going to change about that. His ex is a male, not a female. I'm going to change that now. So, while this is being recorded. So, Norman's backstory was completely different than Veronica's. Veronica's, it barely even changed. But, yeah, that's just... It's kind of sad, but also kind of beautiful in the way that they've changed in my mind and on paper, because I have it written down somewhere, I believe. I'm not entirely sure, but holy crap, that's a long time I've been yapping about this subject. So I'm glad I was able to add that part, and here's one more. What is their average argument? Again, here's another scenario.
Like, you mean, how was I supposed to know? I mean, I literally fucking...
You're amazing and beautiful. There's no need to beat yourself up over this tiny little subject. Anyways, here we are at the end of the video. Now, here are some fan art shoutouts. Yeah, here we go. So, about the future, I do plan on eventually making a video on their different alternate timelines, alternate universes, and versions of themselves. Because you all know about Sir Elio, the puppeteer man, and then Marionette Veronica. So that is one of my favorite alternate universes I've made. And it's just an amalgamation of a lot of different people. So take Wrong Side Out by CG5. And then let's just play it in whatever. So imagine Wrong Side Out by CG5 and how that relates to Sir Elio or Norman in general. And so I was like, oh, I really want to make this about Norman. So I just make an entire different universe in my mind. And so give Norman a jester-esque look, like red shadow milk cookie. And then kind of like a prototype personality from Poppy Playtime. So, there you have it. That's how Sir Elio was made. And then you can also tell that it is an AU, because the second Norman would meet Sir Elio would be dead within fucking 5 minutes because of how Sir Elio treats Marionette Veronica. Like, I swear, when Norman sees it, it'll be like, here's the scenario again.
I'm the one who causes pain for fun!
You bastard!
My other favorite alternate universe / timeline is Eighth Flame. That is a secret for another time. But the number 8 for you theologists, I don't even remember if that's the right word or not, but 8 for you theologists out there, okay? So that's what I have planned for the future. I hope you all enjoyed this question and answer video. I will see you next time. Bye-bye! Y'all, remember, stay silly for me, please. Also, thank you for 100 subs. Okay, bye.